I live north of Barrie, and I ordered this off the internet. I can't remember the name of the company. I think it's something like ATV or UTVstuff.com. I just Googled hard cabs Ranger, put on images, and then I picked one that I liked, and I looked on that. So it's called Hard Cabs, a DFK America company. They come with the PDF instructions, and I just printed it off and bound it. It costs to ship this to my driveway was about $600 and some odd US. So it was close to $1,000 to ship it, and it was about $2,500 US for it. So I'm into this for $5 and change Canadian for the cab. So I already opened it and took some of the parts out because I wanted to make sure the glass was intact, because if anything's wrong, you sign for it. If it's damaged, you own it. So I found it was pretty well packed. Gave me some like a cleaning rag, and it looks like some silicone caulking for getting it watertight, I'm assuming. I've set up a table here, and I've laid out some of the plastic so that I can lay these things out so they don't get damaged. So that piece was the back panel. It's polycarbonate. And then there's some stuff that's wrapped in it. I'm assuming there's some weather stripping. So I can't fault them for not packing it. Lots of material. The box is heavy duty. Wow, that's a lot of layers. That's good. This is the first piece. This is a front panel piece, I believe. I may be mistaken. But I think maybe this is a back. Not positive. That must be a back piece, because the next piece is the windshield, and it's heavy as Hades. Solid piece of glass, and it's heavy. Oh. Wow, making me nervous here. Okay, wow, that is going to be heavy duty for sure. So I'm pretty impressed with that. That's serious windshield. Next we have the doors. I'm going to just lever one of them out. So you can see it has a sliding window here, and that's glass. So that's pretty impressive, actually. It's pretty heavy duty. It's got a steel frame. That door is heavy duty. time. So, yeah, that's impressive. So, I gotta dig into this to get out the front plate, but the unboxing, well done, folks. I'll be sending you an email congratulating you on the good packing job that you did. So I might be cursing you later. That might happen, but packing, 2 thumbs up. So I got everything stripped off of the Ranger. I disconnected the bucket. It's in the upright position to give me more room at the back for access. It hasn't been this bare since the weeks I brought it home, weeks after I brought it home 10 years ago. It's kind of funny looking at it this way. So anyway, I'm going to clean some of the tubes that have collected some dust and some grime so I can get at it before the rest of the cage and cab starts going around it and I can't get at it anymore. So we'll see how it goes. So this is the front bracket. It's made of very heavy multi-layer steel and it has a large heavy-duty foam pad that goes inside here like this. And then the brackets, it came with brackets already on it to wrap around the posts. I had to take them off. There's a bracket that looks like this, and it's going to go on, and so this will squeeze the post right between it. So this is the underside of the roof panel. It came in the very bottom of the box. I had a bit of a heart attack because I didn't realize there was anything below the second door. And I was looking around going, uh-oh, what's the story here? So there were 2 packages of hardware that were zip tied to the roof. So I've taken those off. Now I'm gonna want to take these brackets off, as well as these brackets down here. I'll want to take all of those off. I believe this is the back part of the roof and this is the front part of the roof. So I'll need to take a screwdriver, flathead screwdriver, and pop these caps off and then save them, set them off to the side, and then take those off, and then I'll put the roof on top. I won't film doing that because this thing is heavier than Hades. This is the rear roof bracket that I took off of the roof panel, and it goes in. It goes into the pre-drilled from the manufacturer, from Polaris. If we go over here, you can see the hole right there, and so this bracket here is just going to go right on like that. This will come off and it'll come in from the roof. Okay, so you can see it's kind of L-shaped, so the L is going to be facing outward, and it's the exact opposite, or on this side, where we have the L going this way. Okay, I've got the 2 rear roof brackets on. Now I'm going to lift that heavy piece of metal up there, and hopefully I don't drop it or scratch this windshield in the process. So let's give it a go. So now that the roof is in, I have to put the hardware through the top at the back to go into that bracket. And there's a really big, beefy washer and rubber ring to squeeze that in to not mar the roof. So that's good. And then on the front, we're going to have to push this into the beam and put a similar washer and rubber band through the roof. And that's going to be really, really heavy duty. That's not going anywhere. I'm very impressed with the quality of this cab. It's really substantial. So I'll put those on. So the side panels simply slide up underneath the roof panel, and these, I think, 5mm Allen key screws, there's 4 of them in a package, go on either side. And then the next step is going to be putting the rear panel on. So after I got these side panels on, and as I say, they're not secured in yet, they're only hanging on by these 2 bolts, but they're not going anywhere. Then you unroll the weather stripping that they give you, and you put one piece from the lower driver's side all the way up to the passenger upper side, and then the other the other cross brace, you'll have to cut it in the middle and bridge the gap. So that's going to provide some cushioning for the rear panel, which is what I need to put in next. So yeah, that'll be next. So before I put the rear panel on, I need to take these discs off. There's 4 of them. You need to pry off the little plastic cover cap on the inside with the flathead screwdriver, and then take your 6mm Allen key and a 13mm ratchet and take them off, because when you bring the rear panel over, that's where they're going to that's what you're going to put the bolt through to hang them and start moving them around. So that'll be an easy way. You also need to peel the plastic covering off of both sides of the rear panel before you install it. And also you need to be very mindful that there's a cutout at the bottom, and so there's only a narrow strip on the bottom, and you could totally see that getting broken, so you want to avoid that. Last thing is down the bottom edge, you're going to want to clean that out. Mine's pretty dirty. I missed that, so I'm going to sweep and wipe that out, because that's where the plastic's going to be. It's going to be at least resting there temporarily, and you don't want it to scratch with a lot of grit. So I'm going to go and do that now. So I've taken those 4 bolts off with the washers and the rings. There's an outer plate which will act as a rain gutter, and there's also going to be an inner plate, so you have to be careful when you take those off. This, for example, is the outer plate, and it'll go back on after we get the polycarbonate window in. So we're going to put the window in, and then we're going to secure it temporarily with the side pieces with bolts that'll go all the way through on this side, and then we'll screw those down. And then I think the next step is we'll end up putting those plates back on, the outer one first, and then the inner one with the screws. So a couple of things. I fast forward things there because I was running around, I was thinking on my feet.
if you're like me and you like just doing it yourself and you need an extra set of hands, one thing that you can use is a clamp. Like a clamp like this. I actually used a larger one to clamp the, temporarily clamp one side. Another thing that I did was I just used a couple zip ties tied together to go through the holes, just so it's secured. I've put 2 of the bolts in the other side. Now I want to show you one thing, okay? This is the washer, the rubber stopper, and the bolt. You see that there's a lip on the rubber stopper. You have to make sure that that gets seated inside the plastic. Because if you wiggle it around, that disc has to fit inside the entire piece of the plastic that's drilled out. If it doesn't, and you start torquing on it, you're gonna crack your windshield, okay? Don't use a driver on this power driver, use a ratchet, put everything in lightly, get everything lined up, and then go back and slowly put things in place. So I'm going to put this one in here. Because this plate is just hanging here, there's a lot of play. It's not attached to the bottom yet, but I need to get this thing seated. There, it's in the plastic now. Now I've got it through, put a washer in the back. And then I'll put that nut on. So up here, this one, I can take this off now. This one is going to be secured directly into this cross brace, so it's going to be really secure. This one is just into this plastic, and the bottom piece will go into the roll cage. Okay, so once you've got this rear plate shoved up underneath and you secure it, either temporarily with some clamps, or like I said, thread through some zip ties or a small piece of rope, or just have someone help you. But once you have it secure, these 3 bolts and washers need to go in place. Now, there's 3 different sizes. The longest one is at the bottom, because it has to go through all the way through this pipe, the thickness of the roll cage. The smallest one is right in the middle, because it's just going through this small steel side plate. And the medium-sized one is up here, because it's going to go through the cross brace that you can see by the headrest. It's holding the headrest on. So just be aware of that. So make sure those get seated. Don't tighten them all the way, because you're going to be, the next step is to try and get these ones lined up. I've got these ones in, and I've got the ones on the other side in. Now I want to line those ones up, and then I've got to put the outer plate on and with the bolts, and then go on the inside and put the inner plate on with the nuts and tighten them all up. So that's next. I got the rear dump box hooked back up. Yeah, what a difference in look, and I don't even have the doors on yet. And it just occurred to me, in the summertime I could probably just leave the doors off. They should be relatively easy to take off the hinges. But yeah, that's looking killer. I'm gonna get those doors on. We'll see what it looks like. So I got the driver's side door mounted. The hinges, I would push them forward and keep them straight up. Don't camber them either back or forward. Just put them straight up. And then I bring the door out. It's heavy. Hang it. And then the trick is here. Is
this little latch, and my problem was that it was too far forward. It needed to be back far enough. So I basically had to put like 3 washers in it to keep it back far enough that it'll click. So I got it now. I'm gonna have to go to the store tomorrow and get some more of these washers that I had in my little cubby. So I'll show you. So you can see here, this is the tab that clamps in. There's a big rounded piece, and then there's a flat piece, and there's a bolt. The problem was that this fat piece was too close, and it wasn't allowing the thing to clamp. So I had to put 3 washers in here to adjust it, and now it works just fine. So that's what I need to do to adjust the door. A minor thing, but now it works. Sorry about the last clip. I had the heater on here in the garage. It's still a little chilly here in the 3rd week of March, north of Toronto. So I got the passenger side door on, and as I noted from the previous one, I had to adjust the latch mechanism where it clips in to try and get it cambered a little bit. I would change my advice from previously. You might want to, on the upper hinge, have it pushed forward more, and have the lower hinge pushed back more, so it's tilted, because I didn't have to do any modifications to this one. So I might go back and take those washers off and try and shift the camber. I'm kind of wedged in here, so when I hung this door and it wasn't right, I actually was able to go through the window and actually adjust the tilting of the door without taking it off. So you may be able to do that. I just adjusted this hinge and it was able to close. So now the door closes, no problem. So I'm pretty pleased with that. I've watched some videos where one gentleman spent a lot of money on his cab, and for whatever reason the door latches would come open, and because of that he broke his window, and I'd be pretty annoyed too. But these seem pretty secure. So I'm going to put in the mirrors now. I just opened the box, and I think that's pretty much it. There's one part that the directions talk about, a little cleat that supposedly goes in here. I'm not what purpose it serves. Maybe to get this thing squished toward the window a little bit, but it seemed pretty secure to me, and it's most certainly going to be watertight. I'm going to email them and compliment them on their build quality and see if they have a tip for me to use this other part that I'm missing. I don't know how to put it in. The mirrors are pretty straightforward. You just take the 2 screws and washers off. You'll just save the washer. You don't need it anymore. And there's a rubber gasket, and then there's this mount. It's all one piece, and you just put the bolt back in. It is the mirror is on a ball, but the top, to get into the top part, it's a little bit tricky. What I used was I got a really long socket
and I just put it on the power driver for the bottom piece. But for the top, it's hard getting around the mirror. So if you put it on the end of the screwdriver, it's a little bit, you can get it in there a little bit easier. So they're pretty light duty mirrors. I could see myself backing out of the garage and taking them off. Certainly if you're going through the bush, you probably want to pull them in, but they are useful. I'm not sure you can see you can't see out of the passenger side from the driver's side, but your passenger could look in that mirror and see stuff behind the person. So that's basically all the items. However, I have more parts than I have parts left over, and I'm not sure what they're for. I have a set of plates. I'm not sure what they're for. They were in with the mirrors, so I don't know if this one is designed for the 800, but it also does the 570. So perhaps I'll email them about that other part I mentioned previously in this one. And then there's one other part that I have no idea what it's for. I've got a bunch. I've got those brackets that I talked about for the front windshield and some hardware left over. I got a bag of rear panel hardware left over. More rear panel hardware. And they gave me all these extra pieces of hardware, screws and such, in the mirror bag. So that's good. Extra hardware. You get nervous when you put something together and you're missing. And then there was this piece wrapped up, and it says rear panel hardware. It's like a big C metal plate, and then it's all rubberized, and then there's a bag of hardware. So I don't know if that goes in the back, in the middle, around where the air filter is. I don't know. I didn't see it in the directions, so I'll have to go back over that. So in any event, it's all together. I'm very impressed with the build quality. It's really nice. It's all lined on the inside, the roof and the back. There's some foam and there's some fabric, so it's just like a headliner in your car. So I'm very impressed with the build quality. Really, especially the seal all the way around. Yeah, 2 thumbs up. So anyway, I'll take a picture of it in the driveway tomorrow in the daylight. But I'll let it go for tonight, and I'll conclude tomorrow when I can get a picture in the daylight. Cheers. There was one last part that I forgot to film, and that's that bottom plate that's going along the bottom part of the polycarbonate rear window. That's just, it's along here. What you have to do is there are 3 bolts on this side and 1 on the passenger side, and they have little drop-in sockets that will expand in the metal. I couldn't get them to fit, so I had to use a drill bit to increase the size, and then I dropped them in, and that seemed to work. You'll need to use a pair of pliers or vice grips to hold them as you screw the bolt on from the top. But once they start to expand, they'll stay in place. So that was one piece that I forgot to mention. I'd forgotten about it. So it's in there. It's just adding another layer of security and attachment to the rear window.